talked about SSD and some of the pricing activities there, cloud computing. The only thing left on our list was object storage. We had a recent podcast with Clever Safe and Russ Kennedy about object storage, but object storage we all know has been around for almost a decade now, maybe longer. And
if you go back to Centera,
yeah, yeah, more,
which you
yeah,
kind of have to.
right,
It's
right,
it's as long as I've been seriously in the storage business, there's been
something like this, yeah.
something like this.
Yeah. So the question has always been, when is object storage going to take off? Is it taking off? And one of the biggest challenges, and we both identified it, was the protocol, and how does if you've got 5 vendors or 10 vendors out there and they're all rolling their own RESTful protocol, it's going to be hard to adopt. But ever since that time, Amazon's come along with their own S3 protocol, and it's kind of
it's really the most exciting thing that's happened in object storage.
Yeah, I agree.
Is everybody has decided that S3 is the de facto standard.
And it is the de facto standard.
and I'm a big believer in de facto standards.
Yeah. I would say, with the possible exception of our friends at Azure and our friends at Google.
Yes, but we're talking there about object storage, cloud storage services, as opposed to object storage vendors.
Yeah, I agree. But the rest of the world,
right? And the object storage vendors are also putting file interfaces on one way or another.
Some in the form of gateways, some in the form of internal stuff, some in the form of a cloud object, hybrid solution, those sorts of things. And we've talked to a couple of vendors the last couple of months that have those sorts of things. So absolutely right. And it's been going on for years now. I mean, the file stuff, the gateways and stuff like that have been coming out.
Well, I mean, the gateway vendors have been around for years, but now StoreSimple and TwinStrata have gotten absorbed into
other organizations,
800-pound gorillas of one sort or another, and vendors like Scality and DDN are just building SMB and NFS as yet another interface to the object store.
Right.
And I remember it was, a year and a half ago that Martin Glassborough, who runs storage at BSkyB, so kind of an obvious object storage application. I remember talking to Martin. He goes, "Yeah, we had 14 cameras at the Masters golf tournament.
God, it's feeding constant
shooting 4K video, and it was raining. But we are storing 7 hours of 23 cameras of 4K video of rain at Augusta.
Oh God."
Just in case 10 years from now it rains at Augusta again and some producer wants to use that video.
Yeah.
And that would be right.
Forever.
And that's kind of an obvious object storage application.
Right.
If not an obvious Black Pearl application.
Right. And Black Pearl, as we all know, is a SpectraLogic cloud-oriented object storage interface to a tape library, hybrid disk solution.
But he couldn't get his in-house developers to write to CDMI.
Oh, God, yeah.
They wanted POSIX.
Enter file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you start saying, I've got, the virtues of the object store are that it's self-maintaining.
Yeah. Big, cheap, deep. It's got,
Big, cheap, deep, and you don't have to back it up every night.
Right.
That, really, the problem a lot of people have is they've got the same filer. And there's active data on the filer, and there's stale data on the filer.
Mostly stale, I might add.
But because there's some active data,
yes,
they, in their disaster recovery planning, have to restore the whole filer.
Yeah.
And that means that once a week they run a full backup of all of that stale data.
Yeah.
And they make more and more copies of it.
Thank God for deduplication.
But it's still, if you're running a data domain,
Yeah.
you're still moving all that data all the way to the data domain for it to dedupe.
Right. Right.
Or at least NDMPing it out of the filer
Yeah.
into the media server
Yeah.
for it to dedupe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the biggest problem I kept seeing when I was doing backup school seminars was people with big NASs with millions of files and the incremental backup.
It's killing them.
Well, it took over the backup longer than the backup window overnight to walk the file system and identify the changed files.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with how much data was new and had to be moved.
Right. Right. It was just trying to identify the data itself, from a file walkthrough perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that means that, I think to some extent there is a place for object storage out there, and that if you can, identify that data and move it out there and keep it there, you're going to be better served. So, yeah.
Oh, clearly.
All right. Well, this brings us to the end of our episode here, Howard. Do you have any last comments?
Not really.
All right. Well, then that's it for now. Bye, Howard.
Bye, Ray.
And until next time, and we'll talk to you later.